This massive narrative surrounding Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills has been, does Brandon Beane, our general manager, have a first round draft pick issue? Well, on today's episode, guys, we are going to be looking at not only the past couple of draft classes, but I also wanted to point out exactly how some of the prospects have been looking that have been selected in the first round all across the league from picks 21 all the way down to 30 to hopefully be able to paint a picture to you guys that just because there are 32 draft spots in the first round does not mean that there are 32 first round graded players. I am so excited to dive into this today, guys. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. I can imagine a lot of you are watching the replay of this episode. If you are, I highly recommend that you turn on those bell notifications when you do subscribe because I want you to be a part of our live chat community. I conduct all of these episodes live. And then after I'm done yapping for about 10 to 15 minutes, I revert exclusively over to the live chat. All right. So I want you to be a part of that community. So certainly consider hitting that bell notification for me when you do ultimately end up subscribing. Guys, you probably will notice my live chat audience. We have a super chat goal today. And if we get 10 super chats, $5 or more, Bob back here is going to get an insane punishment, a crazy punishment. And we currently have about 20 minutes for it. So if we end up getting 10 super chats within, I think it's like the next 15 minutes or something like that, Bob will get a massive punishment by the end. And Bob is obviously my punching dummy right behind me. So use that information as you will. Brandon Beane, man. Brandon Beane. Now, let me tell you something about this. A few things that I like to discuss when it comes into Brandon Beane and his overall draft propensity. Number one, I do want to say that I think he is one of the top GMs in the NFL. I look around all 32 NFL organizations, and I genuinely believe that we have one of the best in the league. Sure, there are the Howie Rosemans of the world, but let's be honest with ourselves. Half of Philadelphia wanted this guy to be gone after year one, year two, and year three. He was a swing and a miss on so many different draft prospects when we saw it, right? And then he ultimately ended up hitting for the past couple of draft classes. Number two, you can't sleep on Brandon Beane's ability to pick out quality talent in the mid rounds of the NFL draft. And it's not just Brandon Beane, right? It is also the scouting department in which that he employs, in which that he hires. But I always look at the 2022 NFL draft where, yes, we ended up having Kyer Elam. If people are upset about Kyer Elam, I got to tell you, just completely erase that from your mind and convince yourself that we took Christian Benford in the first round because he is now one of the top corners in the NFL. He's gearing up to get a massive contract extension. I would assume this is going to get done here within the next couple of days, leading up to where our cap needs to be, where it needs to be. So let's not fault him for that because he certainly ended up making up for it in those later rounds. That exact same draft class, he ultimately ended up having James Cook. He had Khalil Shakir. He also ended up finding Bernard in the mid rounds. He found Matt Milano in the mid rounds as well. So I'm not going to fault Brandon Beane as far as his resume of drafting. Sure, there are some first round draft picks that still kind of piss me off. Like we're not necessarily seeing crazy production from the guys that we did draft in the first round. And also, I think it would be unfair to judge a couple that have been drafted recently. Our last first round draft pick was Dalton Kincaid, right? And do remember that Keon Coleman was selected in the second round, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not giving up on Dalton Kincaid yet. It's been his second year. He had a very impressive rookie season. He was playing on a torn PCL for the back half of the 2024 season. And I think that it was largely a Josh Allen and a Dalton Kincaid chemistry issue, which I sincerely believe that we will be able to address in this upcoming sort of off season, right? Let's hope that Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid are in the lab as we speak. But the next point I wanted to pull out for you guys, and something that I think that will really add some perspective, is I want to show you guys some of the draft classes and some of the draft picks that have occurred in the past couple of years, but specifically when we're looking at pick 24 or pick 21 all the way down to 32. This right here was the 2024 NFL draft, the one that just ultimately ended up happening. I can tell you that Brian Thomas Jr. was definitely an impact player. I mean, he was the best rookie wide receiver to come out at 23, right? You have Chop Robinson at 21. He really wasn't much of a contributor to Miami. You have Quinyon Mitchell, who was very solid. Terrion Arnold was a rookie like this year, right? Like he definitely had his rookie struggles. You have Jordan Morgan from the Green Bay Packers, Graham Barton from Tampa Bay, Darius Robertson, Xavier Worthy, who, listen, I'm not going to disrespect Xavier Worthy because this guy, obviously, he played well in the playoffs. But when it comes into statistics, folks, him and Keon Coleman were not far off. And Keon Coleman didn't play 4 games that Xavier Worthy ultimately did end up playing. So I'm not really going to look at that. He's fast. Congratulations. But nothing crazy. You have Tyler Guyton, you have Nate Wiggins, who had his share of struggles, Ricky Pearsall, who was a rookie, and Xavier Legette. And you compare that to the top half of the NFL draft each and every single year. I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to go to the 2023 season for you guys, where the Buffalo Bills, we ended up slightly trading up. Here, let me go to the first round real fast. So we ended up slightly trading up for Dalton Kincaid. But now what I want to do is I want to go on ahead and I want to go from 21 all the way to 31 or 32 rather. So you had Quentin Johnson, you had Zay Flowers, you had Jordan Addison out of Minnesota. Then you had Banks, Kincaid, Mazzie Smith, Anton Harrison, Miles Murphy, Brian Brees, Nolan Smith, and Felix, whoever the hell this guy is, all right, for the Kansas City Chiefs to begin with, right? Let's go to the following season at 2022. We can go ahead and take a look here. Where did the Buffalo Bills end up picking? Kyer Elam, we all remember that. Trent McDuffie was taken before that. But after Kyer Elam, folks, you had Tyler Smith, you had Tyler Linderbaum, a Baltimore Raven, had Jermaine Johnson II, who can't stay healthy. You have Devin Lloyd, you have Devontae Wyatt, you have Cole Strange, George Karlaftis, Daxton Hill, and then Lewis Cine, who was on a practice squad for the Buffalo Bills, all right, just a couple of years before that. And then last draft class, so I can just kind of give you a good idea and I can put a pretty little ribbon on this so we can all understand it. Afterwards, in 2021, we have the Buffalo Bills, who ended up getting Gregory Rousseau. But let's start off with 21, all right? And these are all the teams that ultimately ended up making the playoffs. That's why I am showing this to you. You had Kwity Paye, you had Caleb Farley, you had Christian Darrisaw, you had Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, who was not really much of a factor. He's kind of a bust. I think Najee Harris was solid, I suppose, but now he's potentially being let walk from free agency. You have Greg Newsome II, who I suppose was okay. Rashad Bateman, who just had one solid year this year. It took him a damn while. Peyton Turner, Stokes, Rousseau, Owa, and then this guy right here. I'm not even sure if we're familiar with what he is like doing out on the field. So here's what I was trying to paint to you guys, right? Once you end up getting to the 21st pick in the NFL draft, 9 times out of 10, like you are picking guys that do not have a first round grade in the first place, right? Like you are picking guys that do not have a first round grade. Very, very rarely do you go out and see specific NFL teams. Damn, holy shit. I didn't even damn audio ready to go. Okay. Very rarely do you ever see 32 first round graded players after the 21st overall pick. Very sporadic. As we went through the past 4 years of draft classes, how many players did we see where we were like, okay, that's an impact player for a team? No more than 3. No more than 3 at that point, because that's because people and draft classes and NFL organizations tend to reach once you end up getting into that portion of the first round. And that just comes with the territory, ladies and gentlemen. We are a good football team. And the Buffalo Bills, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't believe that we are going to have a draft pick in the future that is going to guarantee us a first round graded talent as long as Josh Allen is the quarterback for this organization. It is what it is. It is largely a crapshoot when it comes in past the 21st overall pick. So I look at this draft where we're sitting at 30, right? And I think it's going to be much of the same. If, for example, you ended up watching if you ended up watching my mock draft yesterday, where I ended up trading down with the team that was interested, I am an advocate for trading down this year. I really, really am. Because by the time that pick 30 rolls around, I think that it's going to be an absolute prayer if, for example, we have some players like Derek Harmon, or we have Kenneth Grant, or we have Malachi Starks, or we have Jade Barron, who I have seen a couple of people mock to us. But everything that I have been seeing, all of those very, very good players are going to be gone by pick 16, pick 17. And some people are just like, oh, why don't we just trade up for a guy? Why would we take that away from Brandon Beane, right? It doesn't make sense to me when people are just like, hey, like, why don't we try and trade up to like the 15th or the 16th round? Number one, the draft is a gamble in and of itself. Number two, we are all sitting here criticizing Brandon Beane for not being able to pick somebody in the first round in the first place. And then number three, we are taking away yet another mid-round pick so that we could trade up and then go on ahead and take away another one that's a future pick down the road. And we are limiting where Brandon Beane is typically very good at finding diamond of the rough players to join the organization. Where it stands, this Buffalo Bills team is sitting with no third round pick. We have 2 second rounds, which is ideal. Thank God the Minnesota Vikings completely shit the bed in the playoffs this year, because now that's going to help us out at least a little bit. But I am an advocate for trading down from the first. Like, not unless we have 3 players that could potentially fall to us, and they have to have first round grades. If Kenneth Grant is still miraculously on the board at pick 30, take him, right? If Jade Barron is still miraculously on the board, take him. If Malachi Starks is somehow still on the board, take him. But the last thing I want to do is walk into this first round draft, walk into this first round on the first night of the NFL draft and say, hey, we have to walk away with a defensive tackle. We have to walk away with an edge rusher. We have to walk away with a wide receiver. No, not at all. You ultimately end up looking at everything this team needs to fill. And that needs to be a defensive tackle, a one tech specifically, an edge rusher. And keep in mind, folks, we could address a lot of these quote unquote holes in free agency, and our priorities could shift from now until then. But how we need to look at how the draft board falls is exclusively based off of not picking a position or assigning a specific position to each and every single round, but rather looking at our full list, our full NFL draft board based off of the needs that we currently have, and pick the best player that is available out of all of those positions. It's kind of where I'm at. So do I think that Brandon Beane has a first round draft problem? No. Largely because I think once you get past the 21st pick in any single NFL first round draft, it's a crapshoot, because you just don't know what it is going to look like. Man. All right, folks. That's going to have to be it. Let's go on ahead and get to the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are currently watching right now, this is the time where I end up transitioning over to my live chat audience. I like having them the opportunity of being able to control the conversation, ask me questions, and just chop it up about ball. Again, if you are watching the replay, I highly recommend that you turn on those bell notifications so that way you can catch one of these shows live. In fact, I'm actually curious if anybody is tuning in for the first time live. Please let yourself be known in the live chat. We absolutely love to have you. Now, one thing I did want to say, I didn't think that a lot of people were in here, and I want to try out this new feature on YouTube real fast. And this is for the live chat audience. Guys, y'all remember when I beat the shit out of Bob right behind me, right? Like my punching dummy with the Kansas City Chiefs jersey on. What I do, and I think you guys will enjoy this. YouTube just ended up launching a chat goal. So you know what I'm going to do, folks? If, for example, okay, there's 7 minutes and 47 seconds left. If I get 10 super chats in the next 7 minutes, at the $5 tier, then Bob will receive a massive punishment. All right. That is what it is. The goal is at top of the live chat. Don't think that it is a requirement. All I need from you guys is simply just to smash that like button and tune in with me each and every single day. But if you want to see me beat the shit out of Bob behind me, we have 10 super chats in about 7 minutes that needs to be done. I do need to give a giant shout out to today's sponsor that just so happens to be Kalshi, folks. Kalshi is the prediction market all around the world. If, for example, that you want to bet on literally everything, I'm talking literally everything. I'm talking politics. I'm talking crypto. I'm talking culture, Last Breath, Rotten Tomatoes score, Oscar for Best Picture. Who knows? Go download Kalshi. They just ultimately ended up dropping sports as well. If you are golf people, is it Jake Knapp? Is it Daniel Berger? Go on ahead and check out Kalshi. I'm giving you a free $10 just for signing up. If you use that link pinned at the top of the chat, go on ahead and make that happen. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in. Let's talk. Let's go. Look at that. Movie Madness just ended up coming in and saying, great mock draft last night, Dan. I watched it later. I think a trade back is necessary too. We need a third rounder. Listen, this draft class is very deep in a lot of the position groups that we need in the first place, right? It's deep in defensive tackle, one text, in my opinion. It is very, very deep in that overall situation. It really, really is. Same thing with corners. Same thing with safeties, I would say, as far as free safeties. Same thing with speedy wide receivers. I agree. I think that we need a third-round pick. And I think Brandon Beane is ultimately going to get into it. All right, listen. All right, we are 8 super chats away from potentially giving Bob an incredible punishment. Steven MC is saying $5. Good luck, Bob. Thank you, Steven. I appreciate that. Anybody can kick the shit out of an unarmed man, Craig Ellsworth, but you know what? It makes me feel absolutely powerful, baby. I'm just kidding. Listen, man, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Anyway, we have late first rounders all the time because of team success. So we need to trade back for picks and stay young or get a big fish free agent, at least one. So we have late first round picks all the time because of team success. So we need to trade back for picks and stay young or get a big fish free agent, at least one. I mean, listen, I'm not even entirely sure that we're going to be able to afford a big fish free agent at this point, but there are some bang for your buck sort of free agents. I'm pretty much set. I'm pretty much set on Hollywood Brown, especially since from what I've been seeing, his like market value, at least his projection, is about like $3-4 million a year, and that's like a 2-year contract or something. I think that's a bang for your buck when it comes into speed on the offense. And then as far as defense is concerned, like Myles Garrett would be really cool. Maybe we address CB2 in free agency, right? Like maybe we end up getting a Carlton Davis that was on the Detroit Lions last year. I think that he would be serviceable as a CB2, or whether or not that we just go to the draft exclusively. I don't see crazy free agent moves. However, I think one of them will address a position of need. I just pray it's not a defensive tackle because we have only been using veterans. Like we have only been using veterans at the free agent side of things or mentality. Dan, these are the free agent wide receivers I want the Bills to look at. You have Tutu Atwell, Hollywood Brown, De'Ami Brown, Demarcus Robertson, Josh Palmer, Justin Watson, and Noah Brown. All but Hollywood would be cheap. And surprisingly enough, Dexy, Hollywood's really not that expensive. He's really not that expensive, bro. Like, we can go on ahead and check it out. Hollywood Brown's spot track. Like, look at this. Let's go right here. He's not as crazy expensive as you would think that he would be, right? 8 million? Like 8 mil? And that's a 2-year deal right there at $15 million. And again, based off of what we were discussing yesterday, and I really hope that I was able to make y'all believers in this overall statement, never be scared of average annual salary because that is designed to confuse you. Truly, what you need to look at is guaranteed money. So if we could, for example, get Hollywood Brown at a $15 million contract, but we only guarantee $9 million of it, like $9 million of it, that gives us an out. And that, like, realistically would only be $4.5 million a year as far as full guarantees. And the way that he would earn all of those guarantees or earn
the entirety of the $16 million contract that we would give him is as if he is on the roster once his guarantees run out, right? So I think that's my biggest goal, is for everybody to stop being afraid of annual average salary or average annual salary, because like I said, it is designed just to confuse you, because that's not how these contracts specifically work. Square is coming in. Would you be okay with taking Revel or Amos in the first round? Imagine one of those guys with Benford. So Siobhan Revel is intriguing, but he did tear his ACL in September of last year. I think that he would have been the number one corner to go if that did not happen. He's solid. He's probably going in the second round, to be completely honest with you. I'd say early second, hence why I would be fine to trade down and select Revel with our first second-round pick. If we can walk away from this draft having 3 second-round picks and a third, your boy is going to be busting out the lotion and tissues. Zero questions asked about that. As far as Amos, he's decent, but let me tell you who else I like. I do like Azarie Thomas as well out of Florida State. He's like a mid-second-round pick. I've seen Amos go in the first, but to be honest with you, I don't have a first-round grade for him. I don't. I don't know. It's just based off of best player available. Who is the best at their position based off of the needs that we have? Bills can trade back to the second and get a third out of that, and maybe 2. I agree with you. Like I said, if Barron, Harmon, Grant, or even Amos aren't there at 30, trade down with the Jaguars and get a third-round pick, and hopefully with the third-round pick, we can get a vertical separator wide receiver. Yeah, like a Jalen Royals, right? Or, for example, we could also go for an Isaiah Bond out of Texas, who is very fast, and he's projected to go in the 4th and or the 5th round. So there are ways that we can address this speed issue, because receivers, I think that we can be like, all right, like, what do you bring to the table? Speed, cool, you're in. I could care less if you're a 3rd-round pick, a 7th-round pick, just run a 4.340 or run a 4.440, because all wide receivers on this team are role players. That is all they've ever been, is role players. That's how Joe Brady runs an offense. Zero questions there. That is there. John Marlowe, Hollywood Brown would work for now, and offense is set as long as we re-sign Ty Johnson. But we have to get defensively better this year, and can do that if Brandon plays his cards right. Ryan Reed, if Abdul Carter is supposed to be like a Myles Garrett, then let's trade up for the number 1 pick with Tennessee and grab him. Ryan Reed, no, I wouldn't do that. Because number one, like, we are all concerned about Brandon Beane's propensity of being able to pick in the first round in the first place. And what Brandon Beane is very good at is finding diamonds in the rough in the mid rounds. And trading up for the number 1 overall pick is going to be, like 2 first rounds, 1 this year, 1 next year, maybe even 3 first rounds, to be completely honest with you. And that would include 2027. No. As far as like trading a first round pick, it has to be for a player that's already established. I wouldn't be upset for us sending over 2 first round picks for like Myles Garrett, right? Why wouldn't I be upset about that? Because I can guarantee that Myles Garrett is going to put up Myles Garrett production. I can't guarantee that Abdul Carter is going to put up Myles Garrett production, because you want to know why? He's not Myles Garrett. At least we don't know who he is. He's solid in college, but like, I mean, how many edge rushers have been taken in the top 5 and just didn't pan out? So I'm good on trading up for the first overall pick, because we don't need to, right? Like, teams that need to trade up for a first overall pick are teams that haven't made the playoffs in 5 or 6 years or in full rebuild mode. So absolutely not. I do like a couple of edge rushers that are in the later rounds too, so have no fear there. What are the chances of them trading out of the first round to get more picks? I like it a lot. In fact, I am team trade down. That way we can get 3 second rounds and a third, because we currently don't have a 3rd round pick in the first place. So give me that. I know it's crazy, but why don't players sign up, take less pay, and create a super team like they have done in the NBA? So I know the NBA salary cap is a hell of a lot different from the like NFL. I don't know. It's not what players want to do, man. And do you see the Bills restructuring Dawkins, Oliver, and Taron Johnson's contract? Definitely all three of those could potentially be there to save a little bit of money. But extensions hopefully would be able to save us some money this year as well. And then going back to Chris Barr's statement as well. So I think the reason why it's not going to work out for NFL players is because basketball careers are a hell of a lot longer than football careers, right? So I think from like a personal perspective, like they're just like, all right, I'm trying to get a damn bag right now. I'm not going to take a pay cut because my career is going to be 8 years max, 10 years max, 12 years max. For like you're looking at basketball players and how long are those fools playing for, right? Like 16, 18 years, like 19, especially if they're very good. Because hell, dude, like honestly, man, like what about LeBron James? Like dude's been in the league forever, right? Like he's fine with taking pay cuts because cool. Like I'm going to be in the league until I'm 43, 44 years old, 45. Who knows? So I think it's a bit different with the NFL due to how much shorter the careers typically are. Dan, this would be like the perfect wide receiver mix. Trey Harris for Cooper replacement, then Isaiah Bond to be a speedy deep ball guy, and De'Ami Brown, who can be used in many ways. Man, I am excited to see what this front office can do, Dexy. I am a regular here, Best Buffalo Podcast on YouTube. Keep up the good work, Dan. Errol, I appreciate that, man. You have no idea. It's funny because I started about 5 years ago. And dude, it's crazy. It's wild right now, man. Like we are so close to 40,000 subscribers. I have been blessed enough to make this a full-time career, which is great. I am the largest Bills creator on the internet as far as all of platforms combined. And it's all thanks to you. It's all thanks to each and every single one of you for tuning in. I love each and every single one of you. I really, really do. Smash that like button and subscribe if you are new. Let's talk about that. Jay is saying, if Cook is gone, would you draft Caleb Johnson out of Iowa to be our RB1? I don't think Cook is going to be gone. I think that his extension is coming within the next couple of days. But as far as running backs, this is a very deep class. I don't think that it would be against our best interest to kick the tires on somebody to compete with Ty Johnson either. I'm not saying to go for a running back in the first or the second. Like, I'm not saying that we go for Scatabo or we go for Genty, but I think that there's a couple of players that I think would be pretty solid. You have Ollie Gordon, who's a unit, so we'll see there. If the Bills do want to trade up, Falcons at 15 would probably be the target, and they only have 4 picks, so they will probably be selling pick 15. Yeah, most definitely. I'm really not seeing that. Chris is saying, give Bob the old Stockton slap. Chris J. Perk. All right, listen. So we had a 10 super chat goal, and we did not hit it for a Bob smack. But you know what, Chris? I like you, and I'm not going to beat the shit out of him, but I am going to go on ahead and give him a solid little bitch slap because I don't like the way he's been looking at me. Thank you so much for your generosity, Chris. Anyway, Deb is coming on in. Let's keep up the great work, Dan. Deb, thank you so much. I appreciate your consistent support. Everybody in here making it work. Dan, we need Bond or Bolden. Go Texas. Has some Longhorns fans in here. Dude, listen, man. I was looking at vertical separators, and Bond is available in most mock drafts at like the 4th or the 5th round or 6th round even. So like I said, like wide receivers are role players in a Joe Brady offense. Like we just need a speed guy. Like we don't need somebody in the 1st or the 2nd round that's fast. We just need somebody that's fast. And I think Isaiah Bond would be intriguing. Beane can retool this whole defense this draft and get it ready for seasons to come. I totally agree, man. He has a crazy opportunity of getting this done. If Buffalo is going to win the Super Bowl, they need an Eagles defense. Jesse Browning's coming on in. Well, you know what? Surprisingly enough, I don't think that we are too far off from that. Like, we just need one playmaker on the defensive line that is a unit. That is an absolute unit. Like maybe retool our secondary a little bit, and I think we'll be okay. Jay is coming in. I do want Ty Johnson back to pair again with Cook and Davis. Don't fix what's not broken. I can totally agree with you there. For people that want to give up on Coleman, did y'all give up on Shakir after his rookie season? I've never really been one to have a knee-jerk reaction to a rookie, especially with this team, largely because I look at so many different players that had a crazy second-year jump or a third-year jump. And for example, I can name several. We have Terrell Bernard. Like, let's reflect back when Tremaine Edmonds was traded. Literally going back to my streams when that happened, when Edmonds was traded over to the Chicago Bears, or the Chicago Bears signed him, rather, everybody was like throwing like these potential linebackers we needed to trade for, right? Like, oh my God, we need to sign somebody in free agency. And once we didn't sign anybody in free agency, everybody was ready to give up on McDermott and Beane. They're like, oh, like, what are they doing? We're screwed. Our linebackers are going to be terrible. But what happens? You have Terrell Bernard step up, and he becomes, I would say, arguably better than Edmonds when it comes into coverage, when it came into everything at the middle linebacker position. I think the same thing could be said about Matt Milano as well. His second-year jump was absolutely insane. I think that we can all agree there. I think Christian Benford's second-year jump was absolutely bonkers. And look at the jump. I know that everyone likes to laugh at Damar Hamlin, but I think that we can't argue that he played his best ball like this year. Like, he played his best ball this year. Like, people out there hating on Damar Hamlin, he was a serviceable starter, like, at the free safety position. So don't sleep on a player due to their rookie season, because the way that this coaching staff is able to develop players, they have proven it year after year. A lot of the times you can almost automatically anticipate a crazy second, third year jump, unless, of course, your name is Kyer Elam. That is about the only one that I think does not apply. Coleman was good until injury. He was way better than Davis was on his best day. Magneto, Eagles defense is it nothing but Georgia and Alabama players in the SEC. It's all about the SEC. It is the best conference in college football. I'm sorry, guys. Everyone's like, oh, no, Dan, it's the Big Ten. It's the SEC. The SEC is the best conference in college football. I will die on that hill. Unpopular opinion, is there a possibility that we can draft Arch Manning while 17 still running wild? Do you know, in case we need some quality backup and ready for life at 17? Maybe in Madden, but nah, man, I don't think that we're going to be making a crazy first round move like that for at least another 7 to 8 years, right? So we're going to have Josh, I would say, for another 10 years. I honestly think Josh is going to play until he's about 36, 37 years old. I'd say a career that's somewhat similar to Matthew Stafford's, right? Like, what's like Stafford at right now? He's 36 years old. I think Staffy might play another 2. Yeah, nah, I don't think that we're going to be looking for a quarterback anytime soon. And if we ultimately end up going for a QB as a backup, which I don't think is going to make much sense this year because we still have Mitch Trubisky and Mitchy Biscuits under contract for a tad, I feel like we'll be okay. Offseason would definitely be boring without Dan's entertainment. Ina, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm glad to keep you guys informed and have these conversations twice daily. Lino, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Hand-to-hand combat early in the morning, LOL. P.S. I found the best wide receiver sleeper, fam. Elijah Badger from Florida Gator and Jack Beck from TCU. You know about. I am not familiar with Badger. I'm very excited to check him out. But Jack Beck, solid wide receiver. Sad story. His brother actually passed away during that terrorist attack in New Orleans about a month or so ago. Very sad. He was at the Senior Bowl. He was talking about it. We actually had guys interview him at the Senior Bowl for Roundtable Sports. It was super cool. He had the play of the game. He's very, very good. I'm excited to see where he lands. He's like a second rounder, if you were to ask me. Badger, I'm going to have to take a look. And Lino, my guy, thank you so much for the super chat, dude. You are the man. Keep in mind that Jason Peters did not set the world on fire when he was a rookie, and 23 years later, he might go into the Hall of Fame. It's all about being patient with the development of our draft picks. It really, really is. Like, I'm still being patient with Dalton Kincaid. I think that he has all the intangibles to being successful as far as the tight end. His route running is there. His hands are there. him and Josh Allen just did not have chemistry. And that's something I hope that they really work on this offseason. Draft more SEC guys. That's what I'm saying. Dude, SEC is what you need to do. Is Curtis Samuel a trade candidate? Perhaps. I mean, let's take a look. Let's see what this would look like. Let's see what this contract would look like for Curtis Samuel, huh? Curtis Samuel. All right. I'm going to go on ahead. I'm going to view this tab in StreamYard. Bang, bang. All right. So Curtis Samuel in 2025, we have a potential out in 2026, so it's not looking good. His cap hits at $9 million. Let's see. All right. So if we trade him, then we would only save like $3.8 million. And we would have $5.1 million in dead cap. That's what it would look like. Post June 1st makes no sense because we would only save $430,000. All right. And the dead cap would be $8.6 million in 2025 and $3.4 million in 2026. A post June 1st trade would save us about $7 million. But here's the deal about post June 1st, right? Like, what's the point? What's the point of releasing somebody and or trading somebody after June 1st if your intention is to raise money so we can afford free agents, right? Because all of the quality free agents are going to be gone within the next couple of days. On March 10th, folks, when the legal tampering period begins, not only am I going to be live all damn day on this channel, giving you all of the new signings that potentially come across my internet screen, all right? And there's no point because that cap saving situation wouldn't even be ready to be used until after June 1st. So it's sort of redundant. So I do not believe that we would be getting rid of Curtis Samuel because that's a lot of dead money on the books. And I also think that Curtis Samuel just needs one more year of chemistry with Josh Allen. I'm not giving up on Curtis Samuel either. I don't want 17 to retire ever, but fair enough. I love it. Is everyone good with Deion Walker, 6'7", 340, pure one tech, second round and or third? Third would be intriguing. Yesterday when I did my mock draft, I double dipped at the defensive tackle position. And I also got Omar Norman Lott, a defensive tackle out of Tennessee. He's good. He gets interior pressure and he's also a one tech. As far as Deion Walker, yes, he's big. He's a solid defensive tackle. But from what I saw at the Senior Bowl, he's kind of slow. His footwork is really slow. So I don't know. We'll see. Soul Train is saying draft the right SEC guys so they don't get another Elam. Thoughts on the Carter foot surgery affecting the draft? I thought, based off of what Schefter said, was that so the doctor said that he doesn't need surgery and he's going to be doing his pro day. I saw conflicting reports. I still think that someone's going to take him top 10. Even if a team's like, oh, never mind, he has a foot injury, a lingering foot injury, I might, wait up on the dude. I still think he's going top 10. Next year, you can get out of Samuel's contract. Yes, in 2026, that's likely when we would get out. Jesse A. Browning, I was just in the chat saying we need SEC players, and he agreed. Teflon Dan is coming on in. Teflon Dan. Listen, it's all SEC players, man. I am a big advocate for SEC talent, and I feel like we need more SEC talent. Samuel played well in the playoffs. He certainly did. Like I said, it was a chemistry issue with him and Josh Allen. I don't think it had anything to do with his play. I hope we get 2 defensive tackles. I'm fine with that too. Double dip at the one tech position. Fuck it. Throw some darts. Hopefully one of them hits. Knowing what McDermott looks for in players, I think defensive lineman Howard Cross III might be going to Buffalo because he is a former state champion wrestler. Oh, man, I hope not. Jack Beck will be good out of TCU. GM360. Who's excited about the combine today because I miss football? If you don't think that I am about to be in front of my TV starting at 3 p.m. EST, watching defensive tackles and edge rushers run their 40-yard dash, their 3-cone drills, you are absolutely out of your mind. I am watching every single morsel of that shit, and we are going to react to it later. Some big takeaways when it comes into it. Paul Costa Vrabel is going to cook. That's our resident Patriots fan in here, man. He's hoping for the best. Would you like them drafting Isaiah Bond as long as we get him in the 4th or the 5th? I would love that. He is a great fit. He's fast, is what it is. Like we did Willis McGahee. Soul Train, if the Bills have Deion Walker and Greg Rousseau on the same defensive line, I better see a shitload of batted balls. That's what I'm talking about. No less than 3 a game, if that's the case. Kenneth Grant hurt his hamstring, so he won't perform at the combine now. Absolute heartbreaker. Would you think about a trade for Kincaid and a draft a tight end in the later rounds and make Knox go back to tight end 1? I'm not giving up on Kincaid just yet. Like I said, I want 1 more year because I think it was largely a lack of chemistry with Josh. Dan, can you check out Ahmad Hassanine? He is a late round defensive tackle I really, really like. Man, listen, I will, man. And you know what? I think I'm going to be putting out some videos after the combine specifically of sleepers, like sleepers that I think are going to be intriguing. Like, honestly, boys, I'm going to be taking this notebook right here, and I'm going to be like having crazy ass notes today when it comes into the combine. Crazy ass notes. So have no fear here. We are going to be checking out quite a bit of some damn good things. Doc Holliday. Here's why I don't believe Kincaid is the guy. He's always down on first contact. He's not stiff arming guys and running through. He just needs to like add some more muscle and add some more weight. So hopefully he hits the weight room a little bit when it comes into it. But it's fair, Doc. It's fair. How would you feel about Mbuka trading up to the 20s? I am team don't trade up, right? Because I feel like that goes against everything that we believe. Because I think 60% of us are just like, oh, like Beane hasn't hit on a first round draft pick in quite some time, right? And if that is your mentality, why would we want to throw away some mid-round picks where he has shown that he has excelled in and to go on a roll of the dice, right? So I am don't trade up. That's kind of where I'm at. Unless, of course, it's for like a crazy-ass player. And say that we do trade up, I hope that it's only a couple of rounds. And it has to be for a guy that's just dropping down the boards crazy. Bond is going to be a projected 2nd rounder after the combine. I'm going to be excited to see that. I think Kincaid can be good, but the Bills weren't in a position to draft him in 2023. And they should have gone for defense in 2023. If we can't get the 2nd best edge / DT, then trade down or draft a corner and or a safety at 30. I'd rather trade down than reach on the 4th or the 5th best defensive lineman. Solid situation. You and I are on the exact same page, bro. Exact same page. LFG, the Bills get Deion Walker. I would not be surprised if we see the Bills use him as a fullback or tight end in short yardage in the goal line. That's hysterical. Jay, would you sign Darius Slayton from the Giants? He wasn't basically Gabe Davis with a worse QB play. Imagine what he can do with Josh Allen. I mean, listen, he would be so I would say that he would be cheap, a cheap option for the squad. So I feel like I'd be all right there. You know what I mean? All right. Anyway, I love each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Dom Mafia Live. I am going to be live again at 5:15 p.m. EST. We are going to be chopping it up a little bit about the combine, baby. And I'm also going to be live over on BetUS TV's The Huddle. If you guys are watching the replay of this video, which I know a lot of you probably are, make sure you hit that bell notification when you subscribe, because I do all of these episodes live. And as you can see toward the end of my episode, I always go to my live chat. I talk to the people. I let them drive the conversation. And I really would like you guys to be a part of that. So thank you so much for tuning in. Also, check out Kalshi. Like I said, it is your prediction market, folks. You can bet on everything, all right? Like politics, weather, crypto, finances, pop culture, sports. And I'm giving you $10 just for signing up. So use that link right pinned at the top of the live chat, and let me know what you decide to bet on later on, guys. Shout out to everybody that tuned in, and I will see you a bit later this afternoon. Peace.